Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining in today in our Kabir sessions, and uh, let's begin from sharing something. If anyone has read something, anyone wants to share anything related, please unmute and share. If you have come across any Kabir verses, or maybe dohas or sakhis, bhajans, anything that you want to share, and of course I can share as well, but it would be nice to hear from you. Yes, Uniji, you want to share?
Not really. I've not got anything at the moment.
Okay, okay, that's all right. Yeah.
Not quite prepared for that.
Okay. So yeah, in any case, feel free to comment and reflect and share your reflections in between. So I'll begin by taking up a few couplets by Kabir, and we'll try to look at it in the perspective of our day-to-day life, not just philosophizing and maybe theorizing about it, but taking it into our day-to-day life. Yeah. So let me just put it up here. So I'm just sharing it in the chat window, two of them. कबीर पढ़िबो दूर करी पुस्तक देई बहाई बावन आखर सोधी करी ररे ममे चितलाई. So Kabir is here again. Feel free to reflect more. I'll just share whatever I understood and how it connected or resonated with me. So Kabir ji is always, he's talked about, to hell with your philosophies and theories, because if my day to day life is not changing, then what is the point of all those theories and philosophies, right? And in the other one, he says, "Pothi pad pad jag moa, pandit bhaya na koi, ढाई आखर प्रेम के पढ़े सो पंडित होए." So what really is he wanting to say here? Let us collectively reflect upon this. Why would he say that remove your books and get done with your books? Why would he say that? Pustak dei bahai, put it into the river. No need for you to read books again and again, philosophizing and theorizing about it. And in the second line, he says that rare mame chitlai. So he's talking about the two akshars or syllables of Ram. And he has again in another Saki, he has shared about what kind of Ram are there, how many kinds of Ram are there. So I will go on that later. First, let us reflect on why would Kabir say, no need to delve into so much of books that you keep on doing all the time. Kabir paribo dur kari, pustak dei bahai. Why would he say that? And in the other one, on the first line, he says, "Pothi pad pad jag mua, pandit bhaya na koi." So I would not call a scholar anyone who had just read theories and philosophies and all that. I would call a scholar that one who has read the dhai akhar of prem, of love. So first, I would like to begin by asking you to reflect anything that is coming to you. There is no right and wrong here. We are just collectively exploring what they may mean in our day-to-day life. Yeah. So allow yourself to share anything that comes. Is he wanting to say that you should not be reading scriptures and even religious textbooks or whatever, the philosophies, the psychology? Why would he say what may have he encountered in his day-to-day life, that he was compelled to say that, that to hell with your books.
Monica, I could suggest something that I'm noticing. Not that I'm familiar with Kabir yet, just through you some. Yet I notice that right now in my life, for example, is a perfect example, just like other times, there's so much demanded of me to show up from as a whole person, living out kind of every ounce of spiritual reading, learning experience that I've had through books, through courses, through meditation, through visits to the ashram, everything. But to live it out, life is demanding that of me. My family is needing that from me. I'm needing it in order to just stay sane. And that's perhaps what he's referring to, that ultimately, as opposed to when I've been at some retreat setting where I can quietly meditate and perhaps have a lot of deep, long silences or everything. Here now, it's just like every moment or different parts of the day, I have to just put it into practice. And that's when I realized, like, okay, different things that I've learned along the way, where have they sunk in so that I can literally practice in daily life.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you, Swapna. Beautiful. Would anyone else like to reflect upon these lines?
Yeah. So, considering the times Kabir was there, like the time, at that time, I think there was a lot of religious, kind of inflexibility, like religious tolerance was less, like the pundits and all, they used to really take people for a ride, right, with the customs and cultures and practices and havans and all. And somehow, with all those the class system, the pundits were also like, they considered themselves above everyone else, and they made others feel small. And I think I had read some anecdotes in which, the pundits were basically criticizing him. Na, कि you are not even a pandit, you're doing this, you are doing that. कि we are, you should hear it from us. Like we should be telling Ramayan or Gita or the Sar, nobody else knows. So I think part of it, I guess, would be coming from there. कि पढ़ के there's like absolutely no use. But if you are not humble, if you're not loving, if you're not actually creating unity, because if we see actually in the name of religion, है ना, मतलब एक क्या कहते हैं उसको, एक कट्टरपंथी ही was propagated ना, and not kind of love and acceptance. So अपने में देखा जाए तो it's so against the nature, kind of the natural love that one should feel. Like in the name of religion and unity, there's actually divide. So I guess a little, probably that also I felt it based on the times.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Yeah. Anyone else like to share anything coming on these lines?
Can I think it's
Yes.
also saying that what you're searching is not really outside. It's not in the books or not in the Pandit, whatever Pandit says. It is actually within you. And that's where you should. I'm sorry, there is a flight over. Let it go. So I suppose he's trying to say that it has to be within you. And if you're looking for it outside in the books or somebody else will tell you what to do, that may not be the right path. As long as till you are able to sort of identify yourself inside you. And what is that inside you is what he's talking about love. Love in this particular context, I would say compassion. That's what it is. And if you have compassion, You don't need anything else, because that is godliness, or that is spirituality itself. So these are the two things I would take from the lines.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Yeah, anyone else? Yeah, Vasudha, Chikkiji, Shri M, Gurpreet, Gaurav, Saurabh, Shreya. Please feel free to unmute and share. We'll just explore what they may mean. So in exploration, we have to make our mistakes, and there is no right and wrong. We are just free to interpret layers of meanings hidden behind these lines.
I would like to say something. I'm audible.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I wanted to say that what I feel is, what is the use of all this education if it cannot elevate you as a human being, as a person? You cannot elevate the others around you. You cannot elevate the people. At those times, I think there was a lot of disparity. So the class divide, as somebody said just a while ago. So I think if you cannot elevate, if you cannot pull others up, so this kind of education has no use, it has no meaning. I think this is what he wanted to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So, okay, in absence of anyone else sharing, I'll just share a bit more. I think you've already shared, all of you have shared bits and pieces on it. I'll share a bit also. So he's not saying that don't read scriptures. He's not saying that don't really read all that you read. He's not saying that. So one cannot say कि कबीर तो कह रहे हैं कि पढ़ो ही मत. The first line he says कबीर पढ़ी बो दूर करे. He's saying that the words that you read in either religious or scriptural books, they were just pointers. They were pointers to something. Now, what you have done is, instead of looking at the finger which was pointing to the moon and actually looking at the moon, you have gotten hold of the finger itself, that this is what is truth. This is what is truth. And that is what I think Taru was sharing in the beginning, that, this rigidity around the cultism and, the dogmas, the rules and principles. Because if the divine is infinite, if truth is infinite, then the ways to truth are also infinite. So I cannot stick to one or the other way of going closer to my own self, which is truth, which is the absolute. So there can be several, in other Doha Kabir says, man ke bahut tak rang hain, chin chin badle soye. So he says that so many millions, gazillions of people on this planet, and millions of ways to reach the exact same truth in our inner, as Unniji was sharing, that it is within us. It's a part of us. It is the true us. And there are so many ways to take the same, towards the same destination, if I can call it a destination. Not really a destination, really, because it is our true essence. But yet, owing to the fact that we feel so lost, and we feel that I have come far away from home, although it's just a feeling, yet I have to travel the journey back home, knowing that I was forever home. So there are millions and gazillions of ways. But what we do out of our ignorance is we get stuck to the ways itself. That whatever way I am telling you, that get up in the morning and at 4 o'clock you do this and this chanting and this meditation. Now, not to say that that cannot be beneficial. For people, it may be beneficial. It may be benefiting me. It may be making me peaceful, more compassionate. But I cannot stick to the method itself. That makes me rigid. While the whole practice has to make us more supple, more flexible, more fluid, more in the flow of life. So again, a reference to the pundits around, or people who have a very high spiritual ego around them, that, I have done so many courses, so many workshops, so many theories I have read and I know the best, you know. So he's saying that what is the need, what is the use, what is the benefit of reading spiritual scriptures or whatever you have read if you haven't even developed a bit of kindness, a bit of love, and a bit of compassion, as Unniji said. Why? Because all those scriptures were pointing towards your inner being, which is full of compassion, freedom, and love. So if you were not able to touch your own self, what is the need of those scriptures? You can put them in the river and, you know, let them go. So, you know, these words are very powerful because high egos, elevated egos cannot take them. That how on earth are you saying that my degrees are useless? They are something. And but it's good to get on the ground again and again. It's good to be shown our own, if I can say, aukat, you know, that no matter how much we may read, no matter how many talks we may give, the ultimate thing is, how am I living in my day-to-day life? What is the life I am living? Is it a loveful life? Am I compassionate to my own self first and then to others? Or is it just, you know, mumbo jumbo, all the, you know, degrees on my shoulders? Because this is rubbish. The degrees on the shoulders is rubbish if they have not really gotten me in touch with my own essence. So the crux is to get in touch with the true essence. The crux is not to have degrees. The degrees were just a medium to get back to your true self. If you have not done that, degrees are of no use at all, no matter how many years you have spent on that. In another, you know, couplet, he says that, कहे कबीर तोहे प्रेम की लागी ना एक ही चीट. So he says that, you know, he says, eat something like, I'm forgetting the first line. Yeah. लिख लिख के पत्थर भयो, पड़ी पड़ी भयो है ईट. या लिखी लिखी पत्थर भयो, पड़ पड़ भयो है ईट. कहे कबीर तोहे प्रेम की लागी ना एक ही चीट. कि तूने इतनी पढ़ाई करी, तूने इतनी फिलोसफीज पढ़ी, बट यू रिमेन एज रिजिड एज अ ईट, यू नो, स्टोन. कहे कबीर तोहे प्रेम की लागी ना एक ही चीट. You were not even touched by a drop of your true self. What is the use of all that theory? So that is a slap, you know, that we need on our faces, because we feel that we have read too much. We feel that we have traveled too much, too many life experiences and all that. But if the life experiences have not put me on ground, if they have not really made me compassionate towards my own self and others, what really is the point? Even 60 years of those kind of readings is not going to lead me anywhere. So this is the blow, I think, he gives in almost every other couplet, you know. And I personally talking, you know, I love these blows because it is the blow which does the best to us, not the, you know, the puchkaro and, you know, mushy stuff. And then the other one, again a related one, he says, pothi pad pad jag mua, पंडित भया ना कोई. आई थिंक यू ऑलरेडी रिफ्लेक्टेड अपॉन दैट. ढाई आखर प्रेम का पढ़े सो पंडित होए. सो हम पढ़े कैसे ये ढाई आखर? हाउ डू आई रीड these 2.5 letters of love? How do I go about it? What is the way? If not the books, if not the scriptures, what is the way? I'm asking you, you know, all of you. I'm not going to just, you know, blabber about it. I'm asking to reflect, all of you, that how do I go there? What is love? How do I approach this problem which Kabir puts, that पढ़ पढ़ के तो नहीं होगा, and Unni ji was sharing that बाहर नहीं मिलेगा. So पढ़ने से हमें लगता है इस बुक में कुछ मिल जाएगा, उस बुक में कुछ मिल जाएगा. Something will be added on to me. Something can be, you know, I can gain something from this book. While the book is only a pointer to something which is really precious, lying unattended. So how do I approach this? How do I get to know what is love? How do I get to know who am I really truly? What is the way I should be living a life? So Yeah, just muting myself and inviting further reflections on it.
I think just trying to walk in another person's shoes actually makes us a little more compassionate. Just trying to see life from another person's point of view, which we don't do too often. That would actually lead to getting compassionate.
Yeah, yeah. And why are we not able to do that, Chikkiji? Usually, why are we not able to do that?
I think because we only look at ourselves, because we have such a great ego that we don't think anyone has an opinion of any value. Ours, because I've read so much and because I've studied so much, or whatever other stories we tell ourselves, we believe we're always right. We never give ourselves the opportunity to say we're wrong. And we come with that conviction. So I think just trying to understand another person's point of view gets very essential for even living life, slightly more happy than one is within one's own brain.
Yeah, I think that's really actually beautiful, because I can see that there is a little bit of effort that is needed there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If I
Just actually taking that time to understand that that other person also has a point of view and has a different life, comes from a different thought process. And if we can just give another that time to understand or try and understand, forget understanding, just even trying to understand. All this angst and, all this I'm right all the time just then starts fading away, I think.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think one line that you shared, that we are usually occupied with our own self too much, and I completely buy that. We are occupied with our own self, but the thing is that uh, it's not that we are looking at ourselves.
Not at all.
Yeah, we are occupied with ourselves,
but looking outwards.
But yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Monica, can I share something?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, it comes like, pausing, reflecting, and seeing every situation that life throws at you, all experiences. You reflect, you have to become aware and see what is it pointing at every time. Many a times it's pointing towards us, our flaws, our follies, which we generally tend to overlook. And many a times we overlook what it has to tell us about, about the person who's standing in front of us. We generally ignore all of that stuff. Again, that ego thing comes in between. And that is why we are so much away from that true love and true compassion, and that which is something deep inside us, the true self and thing. So I think that what Kabirji has referred to as the Dhai Akhar Prem Ka, I feel when he says Dhai Akhar Prem Ka, it's the love, that true love inside you, deep inside you. And this true love encompasses many things, that means all the attributes: compassion, kindness, truthfulness, everything that in collection is that love he's talking about, becoming that true being, I feel. So I think this all begins with, pausing, reflecting, observing, I mean, becoming very aware of everything, every situation, every experience. Yeah. And be ready to take in, even if it's pointing towards you, you have to be very, very ready, be ready for that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think in one of the sessions we were sharing that we have to become our another, as if I am other. Just like we are so easily able to judge other people, but we are not able to really discern what is going on in our being. owing to the fact that I am too attached to myself. So one has to stand a bit away from one's own self to be able to look at oneself really with clarity. So we have to become our other if we really want to, change our way of being, the way of life that we live. Just like you were sharing, that looking at one's own flaws and follies and the way we react, the way we behave. So I will not be able to do that if I am this. I'll be able to do that if I'm standing a bit away from myself. So the thing that you mentioned, pausing and reflecting, so it makes me step back a little from my own being, which I consider myself, my tendencies, my patterns of behaviors, my vrittis, my thought patterns, my emotional patterns, my own body. So as if I feel that one has to stand away from oneself to be really able to, look clearly at oneself. Yeah. क्योंकि अभी तक क्या हो रहा है, अभी तक तो मैं उन टेंडेंसीज को मैं खुद ही समझ रही हूँ. सो हु एम आई एम दिस टेंडेंसी. हु एम आई एम दिस थॉट पैटर्न. हु एम आई एम दिस इमोशनल पैटर्न. आई एम दिस थॉट. So I have to actually begin to realize slowly with my experiences that I am not my tendency, because I can look at my tendency. So this is my tendency playing itself out, and I need to develop slowly the courage to look at the tendency. कि मैं करता क्या हूँ, in what manner do I behave, why do I behave like that, what is the need, what is the benefit of this tendency to me. And slowly in this observation of that tendency or thought pattern or limiting belief or whatever, I can see that now it is not needed anymore. Now I am standing a bit away, I'm not this, I'm standing a bit away. So this can be dropped immediately. I see that this is not serving me any good, so I can drop it. It's nothing a criticism on me, it is a criticism on my tendency, which I must be able to take. So usually we are here, we think that we are our thoughts, we are our feelings, we are our emotional patterns and thought patterns. So I'm not able to really take criticism in a nice way, even judge my own self, discern my own self. Once this separation is there owing to the stepping back or pausing and reflecting, I think then it becomes a lot easier, because I am my own other. So just like I'll be judging the other person standing somewhere else, I am now judging my own self, that what are the things needed in me, why am I carrying these burdens on my head, what good are they serving me. And slowly lightness, as you were sharing, that the love is within each one of us. This is the being of love that we are, which is able to look at the tendencies, the vikar, the vrittis, the sanskaras. It's only in love that I can look at them. In absence of love, I cannot look at them. It takes a lot of love, and with love goes courage. It takes a lot of love and courage to be able to see my own tendencies, my own patterns, and look at them and see that, yes, I don't need them anymore. Some of them I may need, but I don't need to be puppeted around by them, because these are not me. This is the real me. And again, it looks like an object, but it's not. It's just this power of understanding, power of, intense seeing that all of us have. Yeah. Any further?
I just had a question.
Yeah.
I had a question. Why are we so attached to ourselves? Like, is it our insecurities that we are so attached that, we have to make an effort to, separate ourselves to see us? Like, what is the reason we are so attached to all these things that, create our patterns of living?
Yes.
And I just wanted to know.
Beautiful question. Yeah. What's your good name?
My name is Shriparna.
Shriparna.
Yeah.
Okay. Shriparna, what do you think? Why are we so? Why do I know myself as the pattern? Why do I know myself as the body? What can be the reason? What do you think? Where is this coming from? This attachment that you were saying?
I think it's because of some ego or insecurity. I don't know. I mean, some insecurity. I mean, the survival instinct. I don't know, like, why this happens to us, that we behave a certain manner. XYZ behaves in a certain manner. probably they have to survive in a social environment or whatever environment they are in. So they have to behave in a certain manner. They have to behave that way. So, I mean, this is my understanding. I'm not sure like why.
I think we need to go a little closer. That's what I feel, because the answers are with us. It's not that somebody else can give me the answer. The answers are with us, but the thing is that you all were sharing, we have not taken any pauses really in life. We have been just running and running. I don't know in what mad race. I have never questioned, why do I behave in this way every time? Why am I so insecure of dying? Why do I so strongly associate myself with the body? Why do I get hurt when people talk something about my, what I consider to be me? So we have actually not taken out time. And if we take out time, it will be very, very clear, very clear. It cannot be, that is why whenever we go closer to anything which appears real, whenever we go closer to anything, then its truth is revealed. It cannot be, falsehood cannot, overpower me. Just like on the road we are going, on the far off, you see a mirage. Now, from far off, the water appears very real. So if I stay far off, then I will keep on wondering, why is the water there? Where has the water come from? What is the reason of water being there? All these questions that we are asking. But if we really go close and close and close, we will see that it is not even there. So this investigation has to enter our lives in, really very intricate detail. We don't stop to investigate. If you would see that throughout our childhood, we have been conditioned as the body. Who are you? This body. Who are you? This mind. Who are you? This emotion pattern. So as if, I have also internalized that. If mom and dad are saying that I am this body, I have stopped to question. I say, okay, I am this body. So when the fear of a disease comes to me, I am very insecure. Now I am wondering, why am I insecure? Because I have been injected that I am a body, and I have never questioned. And that is the reason of a deep insecurity, because the body will die. The body cannot stay forever. So a deep insecurity arises that if I am the body, then oh my God, I must do something about it. Because inherently we have this feel of, we want to be immortal. We don't really are fine with being mortal beings. And again, there also must be some story behind that. Why do we feel that we are here forever? Somewhere some root is there. What in me tells me that I am an immortal? And when I know myself as the body, I say, okay, the body must not die. The body, rest everybody can die, but not me, right? So I think this has to be really closely investigated. And again, not a session or two, but the whole life has to become a love for investigation. Going close to my doubts, going close to my confusions, going close to whatever I take for granted, because as long as I consider myself as the body, I will be fearful. There is no end to fear, because the body has to go. So what is the end of fear then? How long can I go on, perplexed in fear and anxiety, and keep on buying all those insurances and medical claims and all that? Nothing can save me if I consider myself the body. 1 second and the body is gone. So fragile. Kabir has, in so many dohas, Kabir says, body, about the body, kachi re kaya thari. Your body is as fragile as a clay. Crack. So there must be something else hiding here. And I think we deserve to go closer, because this is our life, we must bother about it. These basic questions of why am I here, just born and living for an office and finances and some kids and settlement and all that, really, that cannot be the purpose, because if that was the purpose, I would be really satisfied. Something else is going on. But we rarely give ourselves this time to delve upon. Everything else becomes so important. Khana, pina, sona, jagna. Again, Kabir has thrown a lot of blows on what all you are involved in day-to-day life. So if I know myself as the body, I never question it. The whole day I spend as the body. What do I do? Sleep. The body needs rest. I sleep. I eat. I prepare food. I eliminate. So the whole day I am living as the body. I have to stop and question this. So you were asking, why are we so attached to so-called our own self? I don't even know what is my own self. Is the body my own self? Is the mind my own self? Is the emotions my own self? How can they be my own self? Because they keep on changing. The body has been changing. Emotions, they come and go. Thoughts come and go. But I never go. What is this I? And again, I'm not wanting to arrive at any answer. Just wanting to invoke, that we never dare to question this. In even our family gatherings, relatives and all that, what all we talk about really? Food and food and food and maybe something else. So owing to the fact that I live as the body, all that I talk about is food, because food is essential to the body. Have I ever questioned that? Why do I keep on obsessively talking about food? Or insurance or property or makan, or clothes, or how do I look? How many gray hair I have? So it's really funny and hilarious, how if we begin to look at our own facts of life, because looking is not easy. It's a hard job. Kabir says it's a warrior that can look. So when we begin to look at the way we live, the way we think, the way we have emotions, the way we behave in day-to-day life, this looking itself is love. Because only love can look. Only love can look. Only love has the power to with clarity, have a look. This is the power of love. So this looking has been given to each one of us. Looking at my own patterns, my own tendencies, my own self. This is the Dhai Akhar Prem in another layer of interpretation, Can I dare to look at myself? Not everyone can do that, but everyone can do that. Am I ready for that? Yeah, I think I've shared too much, please, whoever wants to share anything. Yeah.
Munka, one query I had. The way Kabir Das had shared like what not to be done, like Pothi Parna or so many things. Is there any help from Kabir's couplets wherein he has guided or suggested what should be done and how to be done? If there is any couplet about from Kabir which can mention on those lines as well. Like he talked about Pothi Parna is not good, or Man ke mare, there are so many things. So the same way, is there any couplet which says do this, whatever things, and then how to do that? I mean, if there is anything.
Dekho, Saurabh, I think I did share it. First of all, he is not saying do not read. He's not saying that. He's saying that you may read, but what you have become after reading, what have you become? You have become as rigid as a stone. So that reading is fruitless. Because if it was a true reading, It could have made you supple. It could have made you kind, compassionate, but you did not look at the words they as what they were hinting at. You got stuck onto the words. Method pakad liya aapne, prakriya pakad li. So it made you rigid. So I would like to clarify this, because I feel that he is not saying that do not read. He is saying that read, but what reading has given you? Where have you reached after all those readings? He's addressing to the spiritual ego. And he says in the next line that my scholar, what I would call a true scholar, is that after reading or not reading, if any person has reached into a kind of a love and compassionate living, that is the one I would call as a real scholar, not the pundits, or the priests or padris and all that, who call themselves scholars, but they have no real love in them. They have themselves not touched their true essence. I would not call them real scholar. So first, this thing. Now, the second thing is that, yes, of course, in every couplet, he commands, almost tells us or hints at what is to be done and what not to be done. In every couplet. Am I ready to catch that? Or am I just somewhere else? That is the question. Now, the second thing is that imagine that I am holding a rope kind of a thing in my hand. Okay. Now, it's dark in the room, and I'm holding on to the rope because I feel that I may fall down, right? So I need to hold on to this rope. Now, the moment the light is on, I see that, oh my God, this is not a rope, it's a poisonous snake. Would I still be asking how to let go of the snake? I would not be asking, because I have looked. It's very clear that it is a poisonous snake. So the idea, again coming from Kabir's Dohas only and others masters also, it is to look at your own life. If I am able to see that what I am holding on to is poison, actually I would not be needing any method to tell me that how do I let go of this poison? How do I let go of this poison? Why? Because I can see it is poison. So जो हम अपनी लाइफ जिस तरह से जीते हैं और होता है ना कि हम छोड़ नहीं पा रहे हैं, कुछ बुरी चीजें हैं जिनमें फंसे हुए हैं, पता भी है बुरी हैं, और हम कहते हैं कि छोड़े कैसे. इसका मतलब कहीं ना कहीं हमें लगता है that it is good for me, it is giving me some rasa, it is giving me some benefit. So as long as I know, I feel that it is giving me some benefit, it's not really true poison, I will actually have troubles letting it go. So I don't have to be dishonest with myself and ask other people, how do I let go of anger? I know it is bad for me, but I am not able to let go. We do that all the time. If you are not able to let go of it, and if you really want to let go, you have not really, first of all, understood that it is poisonous in nature. Secondly, it must be definitely serving you some purpose. कुछ ना कुछ मैनिपुलेशन ईगो की के काम आ रहा होगा वो एंगर. ऐसा हो नहीं सकता कि वो एंगर मेरे काम नहीं आ रहा और तब भी मैं एंगर पकड़ के बैठा हूं. So what Kabir again and again through many dohas in many various variety of ways, today is holy, colorful ways, he tells us that look at the way you are living. This is not the way. Now he does not directly point at the way itself, because there are so many ways, but he tells you what not to do. So if reading scriptures and reading whatever and indulging in your own mind and philosophies is making you rigid, he says stupidity. Am I ready to call myself stupid when Kabir points me, as stupid? I am not. Or maybe I am. I don't know. So there is no one method, Saurabh, I would say. There are millions of methods. And again, if I am able to look clearly that I have a poisonous snake in my hand, the life I am living is a poisonous life, I will actually not even take a moment to drop it. We think that our lives are serving us some purpose. That is what we think. And that is why we keep on looking for methods. कहीं मिल जाए, कुछ method मिल जाए to let go. अरे भैया अभी हम चाहते ही नहीं है लेट गो करना, क्योंकि अभी हमारा कुछ काम निकल रहा है उससे. सो दिस ऑनेस्टी इज व्हाट कबीर would recommend us to become. Be honest to yourself. Look at your own dishonesties. And any further reflections, please, anybody, unmute and share.
Do agree on that. I mean, what happens mostly, the snake, what you mentioned as an analogy, this snake is nothing but my own tongue. For example, that tongue is giving me so much of desire of having lavish food or tasty food, which eventually turns out to be a poison. But because this tongue, I think, is part of my own body, which I think has been made by the divine, so I believe this must be a very pure thing to have, to consume all these things. So that's the reason, even though this looks to be a snake after say 1 hour, first 1 hour when I'm enjoying a lavish food, I think, okay, thank God for giving me such a pleasure life, and I do keep consuming those poison, because I thought tongue is given by God. Had tongue been a wrong thing to develop, God would not have designed this way. He would not given the taste of, taste to the humans, But I mean,
I'm completely with you, Saurabh, and it's not to say that we have to shun our senses. Senses are there for a reason. We are allowed to taste, but what we do is we abuse the senses.
Right.
I don't only taste, I consume. I consume so that something incomplete within me gets fulfilled, right? This is what I do. Now, after every meal, although I am feeling fulfilled for a certain measure of time, I see that the incompletion arises up again. So I have to consume more. I have to consume more. And again, I think it's beautiful to have been gifted with the senses, sense of taste, sense of touch, smell, and all that. But the thing is, how am I using it? Am I using it as a gift? Or am I using it like, bhog karna kehte hain na, consuming, abusing? I usually use it abusing my body, abusing the sense of taste and touch and smell. So there is a difference between refinement of senses, utilizing senses as a gift to be tasted, rather than, be consumed and abused. So what am I really doing? And only I would know. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Can I put a slightly different perspective? We talked about love and compassion. Now, if you really look at it from slightly differently, if one is compassionate, one would also find oneself in anything and everything around oneself. So once I know that you are part of me and I am part of you, I am part of the tree, I am part of the animal, I am part of the people around me, then I won't have any ego left in me to think of me as different. So there is also, I think in this, through these lines, Kabir is also hinting at that level when one is able to, more or less on the lines of what you were saying earlier, you stand away from yourself and look at you as part of the whole universe. Once you're able to do that, then a lot of problems would automatically disappear. Even the question of consumption doesn't come more than what is absolutely necessary in any angle if you look at it. So I think that wholeness, one is able to understand and identify oneself as part of that wholeness, part of the whole. That becomes a real revelation. Thank you.
Beautiful, Oniji. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Sorry, again, if I have a question here. Regarding the being compassionate, say hypothetically, example, say I am very hungry. There is one apple lying on the tree, and I know there are another two people who are also hungry. Now, as per Darwin's principle, the survival of the fittest will win. But when I have to be compassionate, I mean, I am not able to think about how can I share apple when I myself is very hungry. but there are people who can do that, so, and like to Mr. Unni's point, if I can do that, of course I can see oneness in everyone. But again comes the question, how to do that when I'm hungry? How can I do that? How can I share with others? So how part is again comes again and again.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, Saurabh. As long as, again, again sharing my reflection on this, as long as I live as the body in my day-to-day 24 hours, I know myself as the body, it is not possible that I am compassionate. That's what I personally see. That we were talking about being our own other. So this is the body. The body may be feeling the pang of hunger, right? But I see the body hungry. Usually I am like this. I am the body and I am hungry. Oh my God, I can't help it. I need to have food, right? We are like this. But if I am in day-to-day life, I am able to live as that, standing next to my own body. Only then would it be possible to extend the compassion to the other fellow, that I am hungry also, but you can have that. Because I see that I can sustain the hunger. The body may die. I am not going to die, but we don't live as that. And that is why the confusion, that is why how to comes. Because I live as that. So there is a lot of confusion. If I live as the body, how can I allow the other person to have food? I will die of hunger. So this has to be questioned. This has to change in our day-to-day life. Because as long as I am living as the body, as long as I'm 24 hours of the day, I'm catering to the body, it is not possible that in the presence of an extreme challenge where there is one apple and 10 people, I would be able to extend that compassion. It is not a possibility. Because I am now insecure. I might die. It's like I might die. I might die. So here I can say, okay, body may die, but that's okay. I am not the body. I am not the body. So this fear almost, that we have in the cells of our being, living and daily talking and, doing everything as the body, we have gotten too attached. Somebody was sharing, I think Shyam was sharing, that we have become the body. So I have to slowly realize that I have a body. There is a body given to me, gifted to me, that which I am using in day-to-day life. So even if the body may die owing to my extending compassion, there is no harm. The survival of the fittest that you were talking about, survival of the fittest is only of the prakriti, the body. What about you truly? Yeah, so that is what I would share here. Yeah, maybe some others have more things to share.
Can I share a thought on what Saurabh just said? So he said, regarding the sharing of the apple, how will I share with somebody else when I'm hungry? I was just wondering, suppose the other person who also wants the apple is my mother or my brother or my son. How do I respond to that? Will I have the same doubt or will I be prepared to share? So the essence probably to my mind is that I am seeing myself as different from the person, to go back to the point that I made earlier. So once I see myself as different from that person, then this question arises. But the moment I know that I am also part of that person, then that doubt would not arise. That's what I thought would happen.
Thank you, sir. I think really excellent thought. Maybe the point, I mean, to your point, indeed, I think this has to be experienced. Oneness point, oneness point of thing, like everyone is together. Maybe with practice, maybe with more blessings, it should come. But thanks for your point. Thank you for sharing.
You know, on this, there is one little line that I am remembering. He says, "Sukh mein sumiran na kiya, dukh mein karte yaad, kahe Kabir tadas ki kaun sune faryad." So if when you were having a normal day-to-day life, so-called sukh, right? Not much of botherations and so-called, you know, you're having a day-to-day life, okay, if I can call it. If in your sukh, you did not remember, when the dukh comes, it is not a possibility that you will be able to remember. So if in my day-to-day life, I live as a separate individual, you know, always wanting to go further than others, you know, in ambition, in greed, in jealousy, in competition, you know, again, increasing that separation from others, you know. If in day-to-day life I am living at that, as that, it is not possible for me, Kabir says, dukh mein, कहे कबीरता दास की कौन सुने फरियाद. जब सो कॉल्ड दुख आएगा, जब सिवियर कंडीशंस आएंगी, चैलेंजिंग कंडीशंस आएंगी, you cannot experience that oneness with others at all. So in your day-to-day life, this has to become a tool in my life, looking at the way I am living. Am I living in oneness or am I living as a separate being? Because whenever jealousy is there, definitely separation is there. Whenever greed is there, separation, competition, separation. So if I'm indulging in day-to-day activities like these, imagining that one day when the situation is there, when one apple has to be shared, immediately I experience this oneness. I wonder if that is a possibility. And this is the blow again, as I was sharing, or a slap that Kabir would keep on continue giving through his lines to the day-to-day existence that he saw on the road. What is the way you are living? You know, right now is the time. Before you fall ill is the time. Because when you fall ill, immediately that would not happen. The happening that you are waiting for. So right now, begin to look at your life. Don't wait for some disaster to happen. You know, again, he's almost like giving a call to wake us up on what kind of a life I am living. Then else a disaster comes and I have to grow through that disaster. You know, usually this is the way for those of us who are like dog's tail, including me. You know, this is the way that we usually do not learn in our so-called okay lives. So we are given with a tragedy. We are given with a disaster. Okay, now learn. You know, now you have the capacity. Would you understand now what I am saying? The universe tells us. So that is also another way. And it is the way most of us go through, you know. And it's another beautiful way. I would not say that it's any less than the, you know, pleasant way. Pain is also a way. So I'll just take maybe one more in the continuation of what we were discussing, the last two dohas that we were discussing. You know, again on prem, on love only, you may have heard before. प्रेम प्रेम सब कोई कहे और प्रेम न चीन्हे कोई, अघट प्रेम पिंजर बसे और प्रेम कहावे सोए. So he's saying that about love, you know, that we keep on talking of what is love, you give me love and all kind of love in relationships and all that. प्रेम प्रेम सब कोई कहे और प्रेम न चीन्हे कोई. Nobody really knows, he says, what love is. Aghat prem, boundless love. Pinjar base. Pinjar is the cage, the body, the cage. Aghat prem, boundless love resides in this bounded body. That is the paradox of truth. Boundless love resides where? In the bounded body. Aghat prem pinjar base or prem kahave soe. That is what is love. So the love that you keep on seeking, the validation that we keep on seeking in our relationships, in our, from our loved ones or the life itself, somebody should approve of me. Somebody should tell me that I am worthy. So he says that the right place to look for it is here. And when will that happen, one can ask? It will happen slowly, that with my own experiences, I realize that I have been looking outside for years for love, but it has really not come to me. Everlasting love has not come to me. Whatever love I experience is fleeting love. It is there, it is not there. It is there, it is not there. So if I really want to know what is love, Kabir says, it is right here. Our true essence is love. Although we may not feel it in various stages of life. Again, owing to the mind, the mind may create images that if I know I am love, how would I feel it? How would I feel it? So we also have images about that. Coming from Bollywood, Hollywood, and all the drama. That I don't feel love in the being, something like that. So he says that the right place to look for love is here. But first of all, I must be convinced that I have looked enough and I have not found it. Because otherwise you cannot really convince the mind. Why would he not go there and come back here? Right? Because the mind wants to go outside. He is getting attracted. The mind is getting attracted sometimes by persons, people, situations, all the happenings in life, money, ambition, property. So the mind goes outside, but when the mind is tired of going outside, only then in that tiredness, then the coming back home can be there. In the other one, he says, "Daudat daudat daudiya, jahan lagi man ki daud, daud thake man sthir bhaya." So daud ke thakna bahut zaruri hai. First you run wherever you want to run. And once you are convinced you are not finding it anywhere, only then in your futility, you will come back home. So daudna bhi zaruri hai, because only by running, I become convinced that I did not actually find it there. So yeah, please any reflections on this one, and then we can slowly wind up the session.
I think maybe it needs more explanation of feeling what exactly love is. Like love has been defined. It's very different than what actually love could be. But only the one who has experienced can explain that. I mean, I myself have always struggled to understand what the meaning of love is. Do my concern about my son, that is a love, or that is more like a attachment? My love towards the food, again, of course, that is not at all is a love. So what exactly is love? Can we say compassion and caring is equal to love, or compassion plus caring for something beyond is equal to love? I mean, something like that. So of course, I always keep looking forward with this kind of satsang wherein people can share what exactly they mean by love and how to experience that. Because of course, one selfish person cannot say that he loves anyone or loves to himself as well. So right, I mean, there's always a question mark.
Yeah, Saurabh, इसका एक जो छोटा मार्ग बताया है ना in Vedantic tradition, that is by neti neti. So one can see that whenever one is attached, one tries to possess a person, one tries to consume a person, one tries to do all kind of atrocities on a person. So this cannot be love. So neti kar di uski. Attachment cannot be love, because in attachment I am abusive to a person. I am not compassionate when I am attached. So definitely that is not love. So ऐसे नेति नेति करके बताया गया एक मार्ग कि आप देखें अपने जीवन को आप कैसे जी रहे हैं और आप देखते जाएं कि क्या साफ नहीं है. This cannot be love. Strangulation cannot be love. Suffocation cannot be love. So you are doing a neti, tuck tuck. You are removing all those which do not appear like love, right? And with love comes truth and freedom. So wherever freedom is not, love is not. So instead of directly hitting at what is love, the method, you were asking for a method earlier, in this aspect have been shared by masters, is to do the neti. Right? Suffocation cannot be love. Attachment cannot be love. In attachment, I am possessive. I want to control a person's life. That cannot be love. I am like a spy camera. I am on that person's life. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? So freedom is not there. Without freedom, love cannot be. Atrocity cannot be love. If I want to consume a person, or money or anything, wanting to complete myself, this atrocity cannot be love. So this is one of the ways, again, I think in Kabir's couplets also many a times this kind of thing comes, that this cannot be love. This cannot be love. Now, what is love is something which is a byproduct. So whenever I begin to define love, I am again caging it. And that is why direct definition of love, I am thinking that you may not find anywhere. As you were sharing earlier, one has to experience it for oneself. The moment I define anything, I cage it, I limit it. And limitation is not love. So what is love? To understand it for myself, can I look at my own life and see how am I living? So that I know where love is not there. Usko, sorting wheat from chaff. भूसा अलग कर दिया और wheat अलग कर दिया, wheat का दाना अलग कर दिया, भूसा अलग कर दिया. Almost like that, giving more and more clarity in my life.
Thank you, Monica. I think I should reflect more on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question also, Saurabh. Thank you so much.
And then what about love amongst family members? Like there is control, there is, attachment, there is control, but there is love too. So how do we differentiate, or how do we separate ourselves? How to, इसको कैसे इसको हटाए?
Yeah, I think what I read once, I was reading something by Sri Aurobindo and Mother, and their Mother says that what we usually call love in our relationships, it is a mixture. It's an emotional mixture. So there may be love, obviously there is love, but more than love, there is attachment which poisons the love. It's not that love is not there. Love is the basis of human existence. So definitely love would be there, but it is marred and tainted with the incomplete ego. We want to say to people that don't go away from me, otherwise what would happen to me? So although I feel that this person may be in love with me, but that person is trying to control my life without him being aware of it. So when you ask, what to do in our relationships when we live like that, I think to become more and more aware of that, first of all, that yes, attachment is there in my love, and then to take stand against the attachment. So for example, I am attached to my child, and I also call it love. I love you, my child. And now he wants to go somewhere else. He wants to live separately. And I am saying that what will happen to me if you live separately, right? So in the name of attachment or in the name of love, I am actually attached and I am curbing the freedom of someone who I love. So what do I do in this little case? I have to see that I am attached, and that is why I am doing that. And I have to take a step back from my attached action. What is the attached action? You should not go away from me. That is the attached action. So I have to stop taking a stand for that action. I would say, okay, I'm feeling a bit insecure, but I also love you and I want you to explore life. So although I am feeling a bit insecure, yet I want you to go on. So this loosening of the grip, I would say, that is an action done in a selfless attitude and love. So slowly, we can begin to sort our love from attachment in our day-to-day interactions. Where am I reacting from attachment and where am I truly acting out of love? With love goes freedom. With love goes courage. They're all one, tied together. Compassion, as you were sharing earlier, people were sharing. And it's again a process in time, because there is so much that we have entangled with each other that it takes time to sort. Now do the sorting.
Can I just share something, Monica? This is coming out of my personal experience. Was Saurabh just asked, and I don't know her name, who just asked about the family thing, that question that she asked. I think when we all begin, there's a lot of confusion. And what I would like to add is I had a lot of confusions in my life. I'm still dealing with them. But I used to read a lot, even Shri Aurobindo has said and Mother has said, when I read this and when I attended a lot of sessions in Pondicherry, they always used to say, just observe yourself, your feelings. Just notice. Don't do anything about it. You don't have to analyze yourself. Just notice and let it go. So I didn't know what this thing was all about. I was very confused. How does it go? So I asked many times, many questions. But then, I just thought कि चलो सिर्फ यही काम है कि इतनी aware हो जाऊं कि whatever is happening, I'll see what has happened और उसको जाने दूंगी. And I just started doing this. And what you earlier said, Monica, it brings you to a point where you're standing at a distance. पहले it becomes very difficult कि अच्छा distance में भी कैसे खड़े होते हैं. But then, it slowly happens on its own, where you feel it's something very interesting that happens, that you're really standing at a distance and observing yourself. So I think to begin with, we should not question a lot, just follow that guideline and just start. And then there is, something inside you which guides you further. And there are many questions that come up, as Saurabh had put up, and attachment and love wala thing. And many other questions will come, जो अपने आप ही answered होते चले जाते हैं. So I think to begin with, just start observing yourself. And it's very beautiful when you see and have the courage to really look at your own self. That is the best thing we all can do, and requires a great deal of courage, I feel, everything you have to face it. That's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Upi, right?
Gurpreet.
Gurpreet, I think probably this is one of the reasons why I have joined this group. I want to learn from others. Like you rightly said, I might have hundreds of questions, thousands of questions. The way you said, observe yourself is more about the how to start the journey. But thank you so much for sharing, Gurpreet. Thank you so much.
So anyone else, or shall we wind up? All right, so I'm assuming that we are done for today. So thank you everyone for sharing. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining and making it more a reflective and sharing process. And we are thinking that we'll be alternating Mondays. So we have Tagore sessions on Saturdays at 3. And we are thinking that we'll be now doing Kabir sessions alternately on Mondays, alternating with Tagore sessions. So those of us who want to join us for Tagore sessions are also welcome. You can just write us again on WhatsApp or write us an email. And for the Kabir session, now this next Monday will be Tagore session and not the Kabir session. I will be posting on the WhatsApp group also. So yeah, that's it. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing. And
thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Monica. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.